Hey guys, in our quest for finding cool places to do bike reviews, we're in the middle of the Williamsburg Bridge, and a train just went under us. I'm hanging out with Phil,
hey,
who you're the founder of this company, right? Like the Corotech USA, bringing these bikes over from Germany?
Germany, yes,
as I understand. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this today. We've been riding all around the city. I actually used some of those city bikes last time. They don't have electric assist or anything like that. They're a little bit heavier, but it's a similar design. You know, when you look at it, it's got the upright handlebars. This is something that anyone can ride, whether you're more petite or a little bit bigger. You can adjust the seat. You can get those handlebars set up right.
Yes,
that's what your bike is all about too. And so, you know, this is the Life bike over here. You know, you can see it right away, that deep wave step. I've raised the seat because I have slightly longer legs. I want to get that full leg extension. This saddle is so cool. SQ Lab, it actually pivots on that cushion right in the middle. There's this rubber cushion and it sort of pivots from side to side. Very comfortable and just thicker. The bars slightly swept back, but we've also got an adjustable angle stem, 0 to 60 degrees, ergonomic grips. And then these things, can you tell me, what are those things that are in the end of the handlebars?
Those are weights built on the side of the handlebars, which prevents any shaking or vibration of the bike.
Huh.
So if you go a little faster, you're going to feel safe on the bike. And yes, it's taken for the motorcycle industry.
Right.
And so that way you feel way more smooth and safe on the bike. If you go a little faster, a little bit overweight.
You've really thought about this. Some of the other areas that are upgraded are the spokes. You said these are 12 gauge, so they're a little bit thicker. You can see there's reinforcement eyelets and nipples. The rims, by having those reinforcement eyelets, I've heard they won't crack as easily.
No, they won't. Even up to people to 400 pounds, 350 pounds, you'll feel safe on that. And also the frame, which is called Fusion Tube Edge system.
Do you have that? You had an example earlier. This was so cool. Look at that.
This is the frame system here.
Can I see this for a second?
Sure.
Look at that. That's what it looks like right inside. So what's that piece in the middle?
So this is like a bridge built in here called Fusion Tube Edge. So this also enables people with more weight and also ways safer or smoother riding.
Yeah.
So it's all the way up from here, down here.
All the way down there.
The whole frame is enforced. So this feels way more safe.
Yeah.
And more comfortable.
Well, that's what you're going for. So here, thank you very much. I wanted to get all the, you know, the official words and everything for this, but basically by having that reinforced down tube and a second tube right here, it's just so much stiffer. A lot of times when you have a step-through design, electric or not, you get that frame flex happening, especially if you're someone who weighs a little bit more. And this is targeting, it's a kind of a fitness thing. The design is meant to be approachable and hopefully get people back on bikes, or maybe who have never tried it, in a comfortable way. You notice he was talking about the weights and the handlebar and everything. I can attest to it. It actually feels really good. If you're someone who appreciates suspension like me, this air fork is a really nice upgrade. 100 millimeters of travel. It's a RockShox. It's got lockout, so if there's too much bobbing happening, well, you can just lock it out. Because it's an air fork, you can easily adjust how much air pressure is in there to kind of fit your weight, which is really nice. And then of course we've got some rebound adjust here, so how quickly it's responding to you. I really appreciate that. Again, I mentioned those 12 gauge spokes. We've got these really nice tires. It's a hybrid tire, right? You see there's a little bit of grip on the outside, but they have this puncture belt, which is very important when you're riding a heavier bike. And maybe you're a heavier person too. You're putting a lot of weight on those tires. You want to make sure they're full. It looked like it said 65 PSI on the side. That's a little bit more efficient. That's solid, which creates good rolling efficiency. And then I love the reflective sidewall stripe on the side. It's going to help keep you visible, along with this AXA LED rear light and an AXA Blue Line 30 headlight. Very nice headlight. It's actually on right now. You can be seen during the day, and at night it's a lot more visible from the side because there's a little window. This also has the standard reflectors on the pedals and everything. This is one area that you know, the pedals are a little small for me. They're not as long. They don't have like metal traction points. So if it's wet, yeah, great. You have these 65 millimeter fenders, plastic. They work pretty well. But if your feet are wet when you're getting onto the bike, they could still slip off. You can upgrade those for like 30 bucks on Amazon or whatever. You get some bigger pedals. Not everyone's going to want to do that, because when you get the metal pedals, if you slip off, you can scrape your shins. So it's kind of a trade-off. The top assisted speed on this bike is 20 miles per hour. You get a lot of torque. They're using the Bosch Performance Line Cruise, 250 watt nominal, up to like 500 plus watts. It puts out 63 Newton meters of torque, which is quite good. It's a very capable motor, and it measures 3 signals. Wheel speed, you can see a sensor down there. There's this little magnet on one of these spokes floating around. It's probably right behind the thing. So as your wheel, there it is, as your wheel spins, it's saying, okay, this is about how fast we're going, the person is moving. It measures your pedal cadence, so as your crank arms rotate in the correct direction, it would measure that. It also measures how hard you're pushing. So it's a very responsive system. All three of those signals 1,000 times per second. That's how quickly it's measuring. And you notice it, you know, when you hop on a Bosch powered bike compared to maybe a hub motor or something else, it might be a little bit more affordable, but this is better balance, it's better torque, it's excellent for climbing. And as Phil was saying earlier, this bike is rated, they say 400 pounds, but you actually have to subtract the weight of the bike. So it's closer to like 350, which is still really good. A lot of electric bikes say around 250, and frankly, some of the bikes I've seen, they say like, yeah, 250, and then you get someone really heavy on it. It doesn't usually break. I don't want to get myself in legal trouble, but this is one of the bikes for people who are a little bit bigger. And it comes in 4 different frame sizes. So I'm on the medium here. This is a 47 centimeter, just to help you out. I couldn't measure the dimensions on all the other frame sizes, but I have measured here the standover height, the reach, the length of the bike, so you know if it'll fit in your garage. You can get some idea for what it's like. And just again, it's so easy to step over this bike like that. And when you get off at a stoplight or a stop sign, you can hop right off. You can handle it. Perhaps you're using this to get groceries and the panniers all loaded up. You want to be able to stabilize things. And if you're already struggling with balance a little bit, that's critical. We purposely brought along this Kalkoff bike. This is the Agatu. Very similar frame design. You notice, right? It's got the step through. It's reinforced down here. Bosch Active Line. That isn't quite as powerful. This motor, the Active Line, only has 48 Newton meters of torque. Physically, it's about the same motor, but this one's just, it's not quite as peppy. So if you want that extra torque, that's when you get the cruise motor that we've got over there. And you'll notice, again, just the way the tubing is set up, you might get a little bit more frame flex on something like this. I don't know the max weight, and I'm not at all hating on Kalkoff. I think they do a great job, but I wanted to show you, like, you can see the difference. It's almost like this whole tube is extra just for strength, and I can appreciate that. The bike comes in 2 colors. We've got the silver one with some white and blue accents. It looks really nice. Silver would be my personal choice. I mean, black is timeless, it's really professional looking, but this is more visible. And if you're ever riding at night, you're gonna be seen and potentially not hit, especially in a place like New York City where it's a little bit busier at times. So again, coming up with this light, I love that it's built right in, so as you steer, it's gonna point in your direction. It's connected to the Intuvia display mount, and there's even a little micro USB port built right in. So you can power, it's like 5 volts, 500 milliamps. It's not enough to power some iOS devices, but Samsung devices work pretty well, MP3 players, and that's also where they update the software at your dealer. Now, in order to get that deep step through, of course, they had to mount the battery on this rear rack. It's rated at 25 kilograms, which is about 55 pounds, but you have to subtract like 5.5 pounds for the battery pack. That's how much this weighs. It's pretty light. This is a 400 watt hour pack, 36 volts, 11 amp hours. You can charge it on or off the frame, which is really nice. It locks right in. You do not have to leave the keys in. I have, just for fun, just to kind of make sure we don't forget them. But yeah, it's a really nice battery pack. But it does create a little bit of that crack the whip. It brings weight from where you want it, low and center, up higher. But it's a trade-off. You can't really have both. One thing I would have liked to seen is some bottle cage bosses here or here, but that might have kept the seat post from going all the way down. It might have compromised their super strong frame design. So if you're someone who's like me, you gotta have some water or whatever and you're riding further, you get a backpack like I've got right here, a Camelback. You could get a saddlebag. You can mount that here. Just make sure that it's pretty good. There's good clearance, but sometimes you lower your seat and then it collides with the rack or with the saddle. So that might be one of the question marks on this bike. It might not go all the way down. By the way, this is 30.9 millimeters seat post diameter, so you could replace this with like a Thudbuster, a Body Float, or a Suntour NCX post. That's gonna add even more cushion and make this feel like a full suspension bike. This is actually a good example of suspension because the whole bridge is like vibrating. But yeah, anyway, that's one of the areas that you could upgrade this even further. But then the frame, too many bending points, especially if you're heavier, it might be too much. Make sure you get a good enough suspension seat post that it's strong. It's not gonna, you know, some of them twist and stuff and they can get damaged a little bit easier. I would go with like a body float or something. They have different levels of springs, different inserts, and so you can really dial it in and it feel like it's heavy duty. This is not the cheapest bike, right? It's $39.99 for the 10-speed Shimano version. Just got a bunch of cogs along with the derailleur like you're used to seeing. And this version, this has the Novinci N380 with Harmony. Electronic automatic shifting. It's got a bit of a chain tensioner right here to keep the chain from slapping a lot. And this is awesome, but it costs $1,000 more. So it's like $49.99. The bike comes with a 6-year warranty, plus 2-year comprehensive on all the Bosch parts and everything like that. Love that we've got a chain cover plastic right here. It encloses it really nice. If you're wearing pants, they stay clean. You could get this bike and not be all sweaty when you wind up at work or wherever you're going. But still get that exercise, some motion, and get yourself back into a fitness routine. Again, that's who they're targeting here with the health emphasis. They do have a little sticker slap guard, which is nice because you can see that it's been slapping with all our riding on the bumps in New York. Again, this version has 18-tooth sprocket, and the front sprocket spins at about 2.5 revolutions for every crank revolution. It's super fast, and that's part of what makes it responsive. It also allows the motor to be smaller and tucked in. I love that they were able to get this thing silver because it blends in with this frame perfectly. Normally the Bosch center drive is like black kind of color, so it's very nice. Also plastic bash guard on the front of this thing. Just really well done. Internally routed cables. I hadn't heard of this company, Coratec, before meeting Phil today, but it's really well done. So anyway, the Novinci Harmony back here, it has 380 degrees of like shifting ability. It's hard to explain that. It's like from negative 0.5 to I think it's like 1.9. So you really get a great range, and it can be shifted at standstill or while you're riding. Normally, you'd have like a little twister thing to manually shift it, but you'll notice that there's nothing like that up here. Just the bell, the brake levers. It's very clean cockpit, and that's because it's all done digitally here. So you'd press plus or minus to change your cadence. Phil, what's the default cadence that when you turn it on, is it like 60 or does it just remember the last cadence?
It remembers the last cadence.
Oh,
and it
that's
goes
good.
down from 30 to 120, so either cadence you like to ride.
And that's awesome because the Bosch motor, it's one of the few mid-drives that can actually assist you with 120 RPM. A lot of the other ones like Yamaha cut out.
Lower, yeah.
Yeah, and so we just looked at the display. I set it at 100. Where do you ride it at?
I had it at 85.
85, yeah. So I have the sensitive knees. I like to spin faster.
That's good.
You know, I'm a little more active, and I can totally do that. So I set this at 100. That means that anytime I'm on this, anywhere between 0 to 20 miles per hour, that's the top assisted speed, it's gonna try to give me that cadence that I like. I don't have to think about shifting or anything. It just works. I can pay attention to the road, my fellow cyclists, the views, whatever.
Beautiful New York.
Yeah. So it is expensive, and the Harmony does weigh a little bit more. I think it's at least 5.6 pounds because that's how much the N380 weighs, and this has some electronics. It's a little bit more, but then it's really clean. It's all sealed in there. You don't have to worry about the derailleur. This is tougher than a derailleur. If the bike tips and stuff, it's going to hold up pretty well. And I did want to mention, we have quick release skewer on the front, pretty traditional. And let's see, those hydraulic disc brakes I was talking about before, these are actually really nice. Magura MT5 levers, adjustable reach, so if you have smaller hands, you can bring them in a little bit, or larger, keep them way out if you want to. Again, just the ergonomic locking grips, I love that. It's a good setup up here. And if we come down, you can see 180 millimeter rotor from Shimano, but then we have the Magura calipers, and these 2 holes that you see, that's actually 4 calipers coming in from either side, or 4 pistons in the caliper. And then on the back, we have a more traditional 2-piston. See, the 1 hole on either side, that's 2 pistons, still very, very capable, and then 160 millimeter rotor on the back. So more stopping power up front. This is almost like mountain bike level hardware for stopping, and that's great if you're someone who's heavier. I mentioned that this bike is like 58 pounds, probably 60 to 56, something like that. That's kind of the range, depending on the frame size, depending on whether you've got a derailleur and cassette and stuff, or you're looking at something like this, the Harmony. So big fan of that. Just overall, really interesting bike. Neat to see stuff like this. Had a great time riding here, and I'm going to show you how that works. So let's pretend that we've charged the battery on or off the bike. Really nice that you can bring it with you. We've plugged it in, we're ready to go. We come up to this display panel and press the power button, comes to life pretty quickly. We've got 5 little bars on a battery infographic, speed in miles per hour. If you want to, you can hold reset and I, get into the settings and change that to kilometers per hour. You can change the clock. You can even turn off or on shift recommendation. And then on the right, we have our level of assist. There are 4. So right now it's just a bike, it's off. We go to, oh, actually, I'm in the NuVinci cadence area. So if I'm pressing plus and minus right now, I'm adjusting my cadence. So I need to get out of that. Press I for a second. Now I can go up to Eco, Tour, Sport, or Turbo. So Turbo gives you the most power, but of course it's going to drain your battery the quickest. Eco, it feels good. It kind of takes the edge off the extra weight of an electric bike. So I tend to ride usually in Tour to get the balance of efficiency and assist. You press the I button and it goes from trip distance to clock to max speed, average speed, trip time, and range. Range is so cool because it dynamically estimates how far the bike can go based on your last 3 miles of ride performance, the battery capacity, and the level of assist. So, you know, if you're up here in Turbo and it's saying only 14 miles and you know you've got 20 miles to get home, well, you arrow down to Sport and maybe Tour, and now it's like, yep, 21 miles, good to go. So it's really a cool system, and this display is removable. So if we turn it off here, you can take this off and bring it with you, which is key if you're someone who maybe lives in an apartment, you gotta park it outside, or even just at work so no one scratches it or messes around with it. It turns on very quick. It's a really nice system all around. I'm gonna go back to, let's see, the NuVinci Cadence. One little quick tip is if you hold the I button, you can turn it to manually shifting. So there's like these gears. So I can be like gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, and it's electronically shifting back here. Apparently this lasts a long time, but there is a battery inside this, and so that's a micro USB port. Actually, I think that's a mini USB port right there. You can see it's more angular, it's a little bit bigger than the micro. So that's how you would charge that, or maybe do some diagnostics with your shop. Very cool. I think, you know, we've gone over all this stuff. The display is nicely backlit. It's a real soothing kind of a light blue, but it's so bright out today you can't really see it. And this light button here, it doesn't control the backlighting on the display, it's only for the lights. So it's great that you have full control of those. I think we should just hop on this thing. I'm gonna switch it back to automatic and we'll take a ride. And everyone's out today. Oh, and this is the charger, 1.7 pounds, 4 amps, really portable, easy to put in a bag if you want. You know, you can put the water bottles here or have a pannier with a blocker. It's pretty cool. Do you want to be on YouTube?
Yeah, what's up? You going on YouTube? On some cloud.
What do you guys think of this bike over here?
Well, it's a pretty nice bike. This bike is really nice. It's electric.
Yeah, that's right. What do you got? Fixies here?
We have fixies. We stop with no brakes.
I like that. Yeah. You got the.
We have no brakes. Well, we like to keep going and non-stop.
Is this an ad, or do you have? Is just for style or aerodynamics?
It's like for style. It's actually an emoji on the other side. Bro. Yeah, it's nice.
I like it.
Face emoji.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm a messenger. I actually like to deliver stuff.
Get out.
Stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, this is such a beautiful place.
Yeah,
are you
beautiful.
on break, or are you on your way to Brooklyn?
We're actually on break. We're about to go have a good time, and after that, go back to the city, do our thing.
Very cool, guys. Well, I got to keep rolling this. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.
See you again.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Later. Okay, the train's coming. It's time to go. I'm just gonna take this up and press the I button, arrow up to Tour, and yeah, let's do it. You might have noticed that chain starts and stops super quick, and that's because the motor is very responsive, like we were saying earlier. That's one of my favorite parts of the bike, just how responsive it is. From here, you should be able to see and kind of hear the motor working a little bit, maybe the chain moving, and get some sense for how quickly it responds as I ride around. And I should mention, this motor is really, really smart. It can sense shifting, but in this case, because it's an internally, I guess continuously variable transmission is the proper word, you really don't need that. So it's a great setup all on its own. And I guess I'm mentioning it because of that 10-speed option if you get the standard derailleur. A little bit cheaper, a little bit lighter than the NuVinci. you do have to pedal. This isn't a throttle-powered electric bike, but that keeps it class 1, and it makes sure that you get some exercise. To be honest with you, if you aero up to turbo, it's almost like a throttle. I mean, it's just so powerful and responsive. I'm at 20 miles per hour right now, just super easy. Sitting down, no problem. It's a pretty good setup. Even on the bridge, there's a little bit of bumpiness, so it's nice to have those extra comforts. Bike feels pretty stable going through here. Well, it's been a little bit loud with all this traffic and stuff, but kind of interesting. I appreciate you coming out with me, exploring the city, checking out the Coratec Life Bike. For the full written review on this, including some of the specs and stuff that I've recorded, like the reach and everything, I'll see you at electricbikereview.com. You were saying that in the United States, there are a couple dealers that carry this, like Propel Bikes in Brooklyn.
Motostrano at San Francisco.
Motostrano.
For example, Bikeattack in LA.
And Bikeattack, yeah. So more and more of these, I'm going to have a link and everything in the review. So we'll see you back there. Feel free to chime in with any questions and feedback if you have this, if you're in Europe or something, and we'll see you next time. So we're heading back from the bridge now, back to the shop. Heads up. I can hear the Bosch motor a little bit. It has that kind of distinct whining sound, but it's not too bad. So we're cruising around and Phil was like, hey, did you know if you press the I button at any point in time, like if you're at range, for example, or odometer or whatever, if you hold the I button for a couple seconds here, Or here, it jumps right to the Nu Vinci Cadence setup, and he was like, you should try 70, you can feel it changing more, and I'm like, nah, I like the higher cadence myself. And then that last tip, where if you want it to be a little bit more manual, you just hold the I button again, and then it's like gears. So I'm gonna do that for just a second. I've really haven't experienced that a whole lot. So I'm riding, I'm getting a high RPM, I'm being outpaced now, so I press up 1. Oh, now I'm in 4. So yeah, it really feels like changing gears on a normal bike, maybe with an internally geared hub. I really like the Nu Vinci system. It's so smooth. A lot of times they'll pair it with belt drives and stuff, but in this case, I think for the strength of the frame, they just did a normal chain. So I'm gonna do some manual shifting here, and then I'm gonna let it automatically shift, and hopefully you can see it and hear it just activating.